All right, YouTube fam, what's good? I will be talking as loud as possible, but anyways, we're gonna have a very simple video today. We're talking about how to lose your stubborn belly fat because you guys always ask this shit. You guys are always asking to lose like your love handles and stuff like that. Let me tell you two things about love handles before we even get into this. It's gonna be a simple guide of how to lose your love handles, so take notes if you struggle with your love handles, but also start to understand why the fuck you have love handles and why the fuck you can't get rid of them. All right, it's really not that deep. The two reasons, right, are first of all, your stubborn belly fat or your stubborn love handles are because you have stubborn habits. You're doing the same shit over and over, expecting different results like a dumbass, right? You're binging every weekend and you want to lose your love handles. That makes no sense. Everything you're doing on a daily basis is maintaining your love handles. Your standards, people you're around, they're helping you maintain your love handles. Because here's the thing, if your standards are like, yo, I'm not having love handles, that means your actions are going to follow that shit. That's number one. Number two, right, is Number two is that you're not focusing on losing body fat, and that's what it really comes down to. A lot of you guys will drop some weight. You might be 30% body fat. You drop down to about 20, and this literally happens all the time. I'm always talking about body fat. I'm always talking about this shit because this is real shit that happens. These are questions I get every day, and this is struggles that people have every single day. So if you're seeing that you're struggling specifically with like love handles, you're like, wow, I lost 20 pounds instead of love handles. Yeah, because you still have a lot of fucking body fat. All right, you're gonna have to get to a lower percent body fat to lose your love handles. It's very simple shit. All right, so let's get right into it. All right. Like I said, one of the biggest things why people don't lose their love handles is because they're focused on the weight loss process, right? Not exactly fat loss. If you're not losing fat, you're not going to lose love handles because love handles are fat. Very, very simple. A lot of people are impatient as well. You spent 2 months going from, you know, maybe you're 310 and then you're down to 290. You're like, dang, I still got love handles. Of course you fucking do. You still have a lot of fat to lose. All right, be fucking patient. Remember that this is a process. It took you a long time to gain your love handles. It took you years. It took you years of overeating. It took you years of being out of balance as far as being in a calorie surplus, which means it's going to take you time being out of balance as far as being in a calorie deficit to actually lose that fast. All right. And then, of course, inconsistency, one of the most frustrating things that I see. I talked about this on yesterday's live. It's the very cycle of 2 weeks of consistency followed by 1 week of inconsistency, and then after that 1 week of inconsistency expecting 3 weeks worth of results, which is not a lot of results anyways, but not realizing that that 1 week of inconsistency canceled out that 2 weeks. All right, you didn't give yourself enough momentum, you didn't give yourself enough time, enough consistency to actually lose that fat. This is a compound effect. Losing those love handles is a compound effect. You're only losing, half an inch every couple of weeks, right? On average, you're not going to be losing 5 inches off your waist in 1 week, continuously. If that were the case, you'd lose your love handles in like 2 weeks. That's not how it works. It takes time to lose that fat. All right, it takes time. It takes time. It takes time. It takes consistency, right? And one of the biggest things I already tell you guys this all the time is chasing that instant gratification. Stop fucking doing that shit. It doesn't work. You've done it 1,000 times. It didn't work. Why are you still doing that shit? I shouldn't have to tell you that. You can look at your history of dieting. You can look at your history of fad dieting, of doing these boot camps, of doing 75 hard, all this other goofy shit, right? You can look up all of that and see that guess what? Every time you do those things, right, you lose some weight, you make some progress, but they're not sustainable. You don't do them long term. All right, this is a lifestyle change. Stop thinking about this as some short term challenge, like, oh, I'm gonna challenge myself for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then I'm gonna get right, go back to my old habits. That's not what the fuck it is. It's a lifestyle change. All right, when you actually change how you're eating permanently, your love handles are gonna leave eventually, and then they're gonna stay off. All right, stop trying to be in a rush to get rid of your love handles. All right, it's gonna take time, especially depending on where you are. If you see your friend lose their love handles in 4 weeks because they're already pretty lean, and you're super fat and you want to lose your love handles in 4 weeks, it's not going to happen. You have to be realistic with your goals. You have to know where you are so you can understand where you're going to get to. All right, very very important. And one more thing, I'm just gonna say this every video. Everybody struggles with consistency. This is the most important thing because nothing's gonna work with consistency. You follow a calorie deficit, but you do it inconsistently. You're probably gonna be at maintenance because if you're in a deficit then surplus, you're at maintenance. If you're consistently in a deficit, right, you're going to consistently lose fat. People are not consistent. All right. Stop being inconsistent. If you're inconsistent, stop expecting results, please. All right. All right. Another thing is going to be your mindset. The reason I love this book so much is because it really helps give you perspective about how minuscule and how like small your actual problems are compared to David Goggins' life, right? And he was able to overcome all the abuse, you know all the odds. He overcame everything, right? It was literally insane that he overcame everything and he strengthened his mind, and that's how he did it, right? And a lot of times we have these small these small things that are holding us back, like eating cookies at night or just eating ice cream at night. We don't even have significant barriers to our goals. It's us being in front of ourselves. It's us preventing ourselves from reaching our goals with these small ass habits. We don't have big issues. All right. All we got to do is hit the gym fucking consistently and do the bare minimum. It's not that hard. Hit the fucking gym consistently, lift weights, stop eating like shit. Boom, and you get to your goals. Like, you don't have to run 100 miles like he did. You don't have to do Navy SEAL training with broken leg like he did. You don't have to do any of this shit. You don't have to overcome abuse from your father like he did. All right. All you have to do is stop fucking eating bullshit at night and hit the gym 4 times a week, 5 times a week. It's not that fucking hard. All right. It's all you have to do. And of course, another thing that'll help you is a solid morning routine. Now, you can incorporate some of these as far as, the reading the 10 pages to get your mindset right, meditation, gratitude, affirmations, reading over your goals to keep yourself in line. And then, of course, you can throw in some journaling and things like that, but just having some structure to keep you going, you know, going on a day-to-day basis and keeping your mindset locked in, right? These are the things that you need. Like, if most people were to do the bare minimum that I talk about, then no, I wouldn't be making these videos, right? Body game wouldn't be a thing. Fitness, YouTube wouldn't be a thing. No one would talk about fitness if people just did the bare minimum, because everyone would be in shape. People just don't do that shit. All right, it's really really fucking simple. All right, and there is no way. What's the mindset I need to have to do that? Just fucking do it, because the alternative is you hating yourself, you hating where you are, and you going away from your goals, not towards your goals. All right. Once again, we're going to talk about the shiny object syndrome. All right. Everybody's favorite thing. Everybody's favorite thing is the shiny object syndrome. All right. So let me give you the official definition, because I know I talked about this one time on my live and people were like, wait, what is that? So it is a continual state of distraction brought on by an ongoing belief that there is something new worth pursuing, right? It often comes at the expense of whatever you're doing currently. So you might have started like a pretty good calorie deficit, pretty sustainable, and you started a pretty good weightlifting regimen. You see a little bit of progress after a month, but then you see this advertisement for a boot camp that promises you to lose 20 pounds in a month, and you do keto, and you're like, that has to be the answer. So then you do that, and then you're like, I don't really like how I look. I did lose some weight, but it looks like I lost muscle too. And then you see this fat burner pill and Ozempic, and you're like, it got to be that. And you just keep going to these different things, not giving anything enough time to build a foundation and actually see growth, right? Because when it comes to building muscle and strength training, it takes time to build that foundation. You gotta build the fruits. I mean, you gotta have the root before you can have the fruits. We all know that, right? You gotta build the roots before you can have the fruit, and it takes time to build that root. It takes consistency. It takes doing it over and over again. And people just don't like that shit. They're like, oh, this is monotonous. This is boring. How do you get bored of doing what you need to do? How do you get bored of eating healthy, but you don't get bored of sitting down on the couch being fat as fuck and no one, no girls wanting you? You hating what you see in the mirror. You can't see your fucking dick when you look down. Like, how do you not get tired of that? You're not bored of that? You're not bored of eating like shit and feeling like shit? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. All right, another thing is you're too fixated on specifically cardio. Like, I know you guys see it too, a lot of transformations on TikTok where people are losing, weight really quickly. Like, oh my God, I dropped 40 pounds in 3 months for summer. And they just look super saggy, right? They just look super, super saggy. Like they have no muscle definition in their arms, and like their stomach is saggy. There's like loose skin. That's because they're focusing primarily on just cardio, right? They're not focusing on strength training, and they're not focusing on keeping the protein high. We're focusing on strength training. You're building muscle, maintaining your muscle. The more muscle you have, faster your metabolism, which means you'll be burning more fat, but also the better your body composition will be. So when you do lose that fat, you'll have something underneath it, right? You just won't have saggy skin everywhere. So I see that a lot. People might get to their weight goal, but they still have their love handles. They still have a lot of fat. That's because they're not focusing on specifically fat loss. They're just looking at the scale and they're like, okay, well, let me cut out some more protein so I can lose some more, drop some more calories. And they're eating like 1,500 calories and they weigh like 250. Makes no sense. And their protein's low as shit. Obviously, you're gonna lose muscle, right? Because you're gonna be using muscle for energy, and you're not gonna have the physique that you desire. All right, nutrition. Now, you guys know I always talk about high protein calorie deficit because you want to prioritize protein, make sure you're maintaining muscle mass, right? And you're gonna even gain some muscle in a deficit, especially if you haven't lifted in a while or it's your first time lifting. So you will be gaining some muscle in a deficit. All right, so make sure you're in a high protein calorie deficit. Make sure you keep your fats moderately high just to regulate your hormones, and don't cut out all carbs, right? You still use carbs for energy. They're good for satiety. They have fiber in them, and most of the time, depending on where you are in your journey. But for the most part, I see people who have a lot of weight to lose, a lot of fat to lose, and there's no reason for them to be anywhere near, a lean person or a stage ready person's calories, but they often try to go for that. Like, they try to go for the keto diet and they try to do like 1,800 calories and they weigh like 300 pounds. That makes no fucking sense. At the way you got to 300 pounds was eating 4,000 plus calories. I can guarantee that. So in order to lose fat from 300 pounds, you simply have to eat less than 4,000 calories, which means you could eat 3,200, you could eat 3,000, and you'd be losing fat. Let's keep it a buck. All right. Stop approaching nutrition with that short-term mindset. Like, all right, I'm gonna knock this out for 3 months and we're done. It's a long-term mindset. The journey is the end destination. I'm gonna say this again. The journey is the end destination. All right. Embrace the journey. Right. Make it a lifestyle because this is something that you're gonna do for life. This is not some temporary shit. You eating unhealthy, you eating bullshit is habits that you've built over time, right? And you've committed to it as a lifestyle. So in order for you to change that, you now have to commit to eating healthier, right? But you also have to see the benefits with that. But you also have to give it time to make an adjustment. If you're 30 years old, that means you have 30 years of bad eating habits, 30 years of bad programming regarding nutrition. So give yourself time. All right, main factor to lose and keep off, not off of, but off those love handles. Consistent calorie deficit. All right, this is the most important part. This is what most people would just skip. People being in a calorie deficit, be like, yeah, I am in a deficit. I'm like, you were, and then you stopped, and then you recontinued, then you stopped. So if we actually added it all up, right? Because most people don't track anything. If you add up you doing good for 2 weeks, bad for 1 week, you doing that cycle for about 12 weeks, you will realize that you were eating at maintenance. If you add it up and you divide it, the calories, you'll realize that you've been eating at maintenance calories, which is why you're the same exact weight you were 3 months ago. All right, you're zigzagging. Stop fucking zigzagging. Commit to it and be serious about it. When you make a decision to lose your love handles, you have to be serious about that shit. And you have to execute every day. You don't execute one day and then you don't feel like you're doing it the next day and then you don't. That's the stupidest fucking shit ever. And then you complain about not getting results. You don't deserve that shit. You didn't do the bare minimum. Like, and you ask me like, why am I not getting results? You didn't fucking do what you needed to do. It's not that deep. It's not that deep, and it's really not that hard. It's not. All right. Keeping them off means making sure nutrition is a lifestyle. All right. Like I said, not a fad. Like, all right, I'm going to do carnivore to lose this and I'm going to get right. That never works. That never works. Because then you're going to feel miserable doing carnivore because you're like, well, this is not a long term solution. I can't wait to finish this so I can go to eating this other shit. It's not a long term solution. All right. And like I said, no one cares if you've lost it and then you gain it back. That means you failed. All right. If you gained it back, that means you failed. All right. Simple. Simple as that. All right. I know a lot of you guys are obsessed with cardio and it's your favorite thing to do. For me, cardio is literally just 10 minutes warming up before my workouts or 15 minutes warming up on the treadmill before my workouts, depending on how cold it is outside or how cold my body feels. And the reason I'm doing that is because I actually pay attention to nutrition and nobody else does. I'm going to say this one more time. I actually pay attention to nutrition and nobody else does. When people say they pay attention to nutrition, they're not locked in. Now, if they're eating the right foods, congratulations, but they're not tracking their calories and they're not hitting the right numbers. They're not actually in a deficit. They're not in a deficit consistently for real. Like for real, for real. They're not in the deficit, and if they are, they're not tracking their butter, they're not tracking their olive oil, they're not tracking condiments. When you're actually in a deficit with nutrition, that kind of it knocks out all the issues. And then you're not really worried about, oh my God, should I add more cardio? Because you're actually doing what you need to fucking do. Or you're not lying to yourself. A lot of you guys lie to your fucking self. And then you're like, oh, why am I not getting results? You're not doing what you're supposed to with nutrition. You're lying to yourself. You're sneaking some shit in there. And don't sneak some shit in there and then come to me and be like, bro, I promise. Like I say, I'm always gonna use this example because I don't. This had to be the dumbest motherfucker that's ever hit me up in my life. This dude was six. What was he? 6'2", 6'1", 6'1", like 280 or 270, some shit like that. He was like, yeah, man, I only eat 1,900 calories. I'm not losing fat. I was like, no, the fuck you don't, bro. He was like, no, I really. I was like, no, you don't. How long you been doing that? For 3 months. You're fucking lying. You haven't been doing that for 3 months. Because if I ate 1,800 calories at one, and by the way, I don't do a lot of cardio. So listen to this. So if I ate 1,800 calories at 180, 186, right, strength training 5 times a week, probably with the same amount of lean body mass he has. Obviously, he has way more fat, but same amount of lean body mass he has, I'd be losing fat. So why the fuck isn't he losing fat? Because he's not tracking his calories or he's just fucking lying, right? A lot of people lie so much and they want you to accept their lies so they can be comfortable with it and be like, see, that's the reason I just have bad genetics. No, you're just fat as fuck and you're not counting your calories. You're lying to yourself, all right? You can try to lie to me. It's not going to work. It's like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know someone who's as big as you, 6'1", 280, that's literally big as shit. Someone as big as you, if you eat 1,800 calories, you'll lose so much fat, it's going to be ridiculous. All right? You'll be losing so much fat. All right? You'll be losing some muscle too, probably. Not going to lie. Unless you keep your protein as high as possible, bro, you'll be losing a lot of fat. You'll be feeling like shit. You have super low energy because you can eat 2,800 calories at that weight and be losing fat as well. It's not rocket science. All right. Making sure you don't lose momentum. All right, a lot of you guys put your foot on the gas, and then when you get close to your destination, you're like, oh, it's right there. So you just slow down. That is not what you want to do, all right? Because you slow down, you're going to end up stopping. And then when you stop, you got to speed up the car and get back to your old pace, which is going to be hard. All right, so the weekend, like I said, is a made up concept. All right, it's just 2 extra days. The mindset of the weekend comes from like the 9 to 5 mindset, right? The 9 to 5 mindset is like, all right, you die Monday through Friday, you hate your job, you hate your life, and then you know Saturday and Sunday to forget about your 9 to 5 from Monday through Friday, but also to not think about the upcoming Monday. You just drink your life away to get out of your awareness state, so you don't have to be aware of having to go to work and this past week of work. So you get drunk on the weekend, you eat whatever you want to, because that's your stress relief, that's your coping mechanism. Then you just get unhealthy and you feel like shit, and then Monday feels like shit, right? So the weekends are just 2 more days. So execute it just like that. I used to work on the weekend, so for me, Saturday and Sunday was always like Monday to me. All right, so I treat them just like Monday because most people eat healthier than I do during the week, right? And they eat way unhealthier than I ever can, even on a cheat day on the weekends. They eat way unhealthier than I do on the weekends, but they eat healthier than me on the week. And what ends up happening is they're at maintenance by the time Monday comes around with some water retention. It's ridiculous, all right? So I like to work out on the weekends because the gym is empty, but it also keeps my mindset locked in as if it's a weekday, right? So then that kind of program me to be like, okay, this is just another day, right? The concept of taking 2 days off, right, every single week is literally the dumbest shit of all time. That's the opposite of a lifestyle change. It's like I always say, it's like if you're married to your wife, you are the best husband. Like you're the best husband of all time for 5 days, and then you're the most cheating, conniving, disgusting man for 2 days. Then you come back on Monday, you're like, wait, why don't you love me? Because every weekend, there's 52 weekends in a year, you cheat on her with a different woman, right? That'd be 52 different women in a year, and you still expect her to love you. It's just not. It's not gonna work. All right, it's just not gonna fucking work. That's how you guys are with your diet. You guys cheat on this shit every fucking weekend, and then you come back to it and you're like, why isn't it working? Because you're not doing the bare minimum. All right, the weekends, the calories count. Type it into Google. Calories count on the weekend. All right. Now, link will be in the description for coaching. Right. The most important thing I do with coaching is just your mindset shift, but it takes time for your mindset to shift. So if you are patient and you are ready to make a lifestyle change, not this short temporary shit, and you're ready to change your mindset and your perspective, right? And learn from someone who actually does this shit every fucking day, because this is like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm someone who literally every single day I'm doing something regarding fitness. It's just a lifestyle for me. It's not even like, oh man, I need to eat this to be fit. It's like, no, it's just part of who I am. Like me me showing, like when I show my food on Instagram, it's me documenting. When someone else shows their food, it's them trying to get compliments. It's just like me, I'm documenting. Like people are like, oh, I want to see what you eat. That's why I eat the same shit all the fucking time. It's gonna be eggs, ground beef. Someone else, they're like, oh, this is my first time. Someone else will be like, this is my first time eating eggs and ground beef. The post it on the story, so someone will be like, oh, wow, you're eating healthy. No, it's just a norm for me. So link is in the description. Stay blessed, man.